Hi, my name is Cuellar. My role here at Modern Times is Art Installation Project Manager. Well, that's a freaking mouthful. What does that mean? So whenever we open up a new property, we as an art team come up with a general concept of what it's going to look like inside. Once we have the concept, which generally involves really outlandish ideas that defy the laws of physics and gravity, then it is our responsibility to, well, more mine and one other person's responsibility to figure out how to make those things exist on this plane of reality. So there's a lot of sourcing, there's a lot of exploring materials in ways that they weren't intended for. There's a lot of logistics planning on how to get things to our studio to be made, and then have enough space in the studio to hold on to those before we send them up to the new location, and coordinating with truck drivers and things like that to get them up to the new location, and then storing them there until we can set them up. Everything that we do is a challenge, but I would say the one that stands out in my mind the most was when I first got hired into this position with the company. My first day was on an airplane out to Portland to work on the expansion of Portland, and I hadn't seen the plans or the designs of anything yet at that point, so once we got up there, one of the biggest projects that I was the most intimidated by was a 22-foot Macho Man piñata that was to be suspended above a tasting room full of people. And it wasn't allowed to be made out of cardboard or any paper products because the brewery gets very humid. So we were afraid that if we used paper, it was going to rot. So making a 22-foot piñata out of no paper and putting that above people was really intimidating, but our team came together. Our tiny team, at that point there were 3 of us, so our tiny team came together and we were able to explore a lot of different options for what we could use as materials, and it turns out there's a material called corrugated plastic. So we found that, which was sort of a godsend because we were able to use that just like we would use corrugated cardboard to make an actual piñata, but in plastic, and then all kinds of packing materials, bubble wrap, padding to really sculpt all the finer details out of that. And his skeleton was made out of PVC. And then covered him in Mylar fringe. So once we had it all covered in Mylar, which is extremely delicate, think tissue paper delicate, but tears easier. Then we had to figure out how to suspend it 30 feet in the air. And while I have a background in sculpture and three-dimensional art, specifically metal casting, which we haven't had to use, I haven't had to use in this position yet, but I don't have an engineering background. So I worked closely with the construction manager on site, and then it took probably 6 construction workers, 3 pulleys to get him up into position, and then lower him down onto the scissor lift so that we could use really strong wire and airplane cable to put him permanently in place. You know, thinking about what it took, the pure terror, state of terror that I was in the beginning of that project, and then working through it to the end and seeing him actually suspended in the air was one of the most fulfilling accomplishments I think I have done in this role.